I hope everyone can hear me. I apologize for the delay in the start of this meeting. We've had some technical difficulties for getting logged in on WebEx, but want to get underway quickly. Remind you that this meeting can be viewed by the public and the media on the government channel, the city's Facebook page, or the city's YouTube page. And I would like to quickly call the roll to do a sound check. So when I call your name, just please say here. So I'm here, Ed Driggs, member of City Council for District 7. Larkin Eggleston.
Yeah, good morning. Larkin Eggleston, City Council, District 1.
Matt Newton.
Good morning, Matt Newton, District 5.
Victoria Watlington.
Morning, Victoria Watlington.
Victoria. Good morning. Seth Bennett.
Good morning. Seth Bennett here.
Rachel Gaithers.
Good morning. Rachel Gaithers, present.
Lucia Griffith.
Good morning, present.
Dennis Harris. Dennis, are you there?
Dennis Harris is here.
Yolanda? Yeah, good morning, Dennis. Yolanda Johnson.
Good morning here.
Erin King Sweeney. Erin?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay,
Thank
good
you.
morning.
Robert Stoltz.
Yes, Robert Stolz is here.
Okay, Brent Cagle
Present.
and Haley Gentry.
Good morning, I'm here.
Great, we're all here. Good morning, everybody. I'd like to remind you that public comments can be submitted to us for consideration by the panel at Airport Task Force at Charlottenc.gov. So if anybody who is viewing would like to submit a comment for us to consider and talk about at a future meeting, please do so. And under some circumstances, we may arrange to actually have you join us on the call. So today's meeting is about the airlines, and they will be represented very capably by American Airlines, who represent 90% of the traffic at Charlotte Douglas Airport, an outstanding business partner. We're very proud to have to be the second largest hub of the largest airline in the world. And with that, I'd like to hand over to Tracy Montross, Regional Director, Government Affairs. Tracy, how are you?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, and thank you so much for the opportunity to be with you all today, members of council, members of the committee. It's nice to see your faces. While you may be familiar with me as I represent American Airlines with Charlotte City Council and our local stakeholders, I have the privilege this morning of introducing two executives from American, Mike Minerva, who is Vice President of Airport and Government Affairs, who's on the line, and Deck Lee, who is Vice President of the hub operation here at CLT. While this experience has been incredibly new and challenging for me, I can tell you these two guys have seen much more, and I look forward to hearing their comments to you today. Mike started his career in 1994 with Piedmont Airlines. Deck Lee started his aviation career in 1981. So between the two of them, they've got quite a bit of experience dealing with a whole host of issues within the aviation industry. And I think that that insight will be helpful as we consider the pandemic and its effect on air travel. So without further delay, I'm going to turn it over to Deck Lee to begin the presentation. Wendy, if you would pull up our PowerPoint.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I'm Deck Lee. I'm the Vice President of Hub Operations here in Charlotte. As Tracy said, I've been in this business for about 40 years. I started in the airline side of our business about 30 years ago. Most of my career has been in the maintenance side of aviation. However, I moved over about 3 years ago into this job. And that's airport customer experience. So I'm the local representative for American Airlines here in Charlotte, and I'm responsible for American's operations here in Charlotte. If you could please run to the next slide. Thanks. So maybe what I'll do is give Mike Minerva an opportunity to introduce himself as well before I start going. So, Mike, if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Airline, going back to the U.S. Air days, actually, for 26 years this Saturday. So I'm kind of a novice compared to Deck. And my career has been in legal, labor relations, government affairs, and airport affairs. And I'm based in Washington, D.C.
All right, thanks, Mike. I think you were saying that you weren't as old as me, is what you were saying. But okay, just moving on then. So the one thing I will say in this is we're living in an extremely dynamic environment. And, I would say that the information in this package is probably good as of the 7th of May, 2020 at 10 a.m. Actually, well, 10:31. We are adapting daily to the changes that are occurring. And quite honestly, we don't know what tomorrow will bring, and we just adapt to that. And that's kind of what we've done as an industry for many years. So moving on, just a little background on American. We've been around for 95 years. We have roughly 130,000 employees company-wide. About 85% of our employees are unionized. We're probably the highest percentage of unionized workers of any U.S. airline. We have a corporate headquarters located in Fort Worth, Texas, and as Ed said, we are the world's largest airline. We have 10 hubs, and our broad network really provides 6,745 daily departures to 340 destinations in 57 countries. So we do have a lot of breadth. I think one of the things, as I said, as an airline and as an industry, we've been through a lot of upheaval over the many years that we've been in business. We've been through recessions. We've been through 9/11. We've been through SARS. Industry consolidation. I often joke with people that if you're in most businesses, you go through one of those in a career. In the airline business, it seems like your badge is you don't really qualify until you've done at least 5. And the reality for us is we will get through this like we always have. So if you could go to the next slide, please. Sorry, I'm keeping up here with my notes. Okay. So just a little background here for Charlotte. We have over 12,000 team members here. We spend more than $1.4 billion on payroll locally. If you can see the distribution of our team members, we have a pretty diverse group of jobs here in Charlotte. We have a large population of flight attendants. We have pilots, fleet service, which is our ramp team that move our baggage and freight. We have a maintenance team and our passenger service team that staff the clubs and all the folks that you would see above wing. And then we have a management and support staff team for every one of those groups as well. And then we also run probably if not the largest, amongst the largest regional hub for smaller regional aircraft, in the world. And our wholly owned carriers are a large number of our team members, and the distribution of their folks is is very similar to the group that is laid out above. So we are the 5th largest employer in Mecklenburg, and we also obviously have many employers in the area that support the airport operations here. The economic output of American's hub here in Charlotte is more than $13.2 billion for the region. I think many folks were here with us on February 2020, which feels like an eternity ago, when we celebrated that big milestone of 700 daily flights, at which point we were at 149 destinations in 25 countries. Obviously, things are a little different right now. We have always, as a company, provided strong support for the Charlotte operation. In recent years, we've committed to more than $740 million in terminal and airfield improvements at Charlotte. Through our rates and charges, we've committed to invest more than $638 million for the destination CLT projects. It's a long list, and just some examples include the new A North concourse, the renovation of the A South concourse, and obviously Concourse B. Concourse C is almost done and will be soon, and then Concourse E is underway right now. We also have a new regional baggage transfer facility, which was opened last year. And then, of course, there's a lot of land acquisition, airfield improvements, expansion of our terminal lobby, which is obviously a benefit for everybody, a lot of newly constructed roadways and parking facilities. And, I think it's fair to say that, it's not just American that benefits from all of these, particularly A North is a very good example. Our rates and charges also, support other airlines and new entrants that benefit from that investment. Along with that, we also have invested over $100 million in areas that are our, lease spaces around the terminal. A lot of these are obviously to create a much better work environment for our team members. We have various off-airport facilities. We also have addressed all of our, many, if not all of our break rooms, our on-site medical clinic now that is available for our team. And we also have refreshed the Admirals Club on the B concourse. And okay, if we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so last week, if you look at the data, TSA screened about 981,000 people at the airport checkpoints. The good news, I guess you could say, is that was up 27% from the previous week, and it was up 43% from the week that ended April 18th. That's the good news. The unfortunate part of this, as you can see in the chart, is that we are still down as an industry 95%. And I think it's fair to say, and I think you saw that with the concessionaire presentations as well, our revenues are down on a very similar scale. And so while there is some marginal improvement, we are really at the bottom of how things are as an industry. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so what have we been doing? Obviously, in an environment like this, cash is king, and we have to preserve liquidity, like every other business out there. And so we had to make some quick actions as an airline. We've reduced our system capacity. We were down 80% in April and May. Right now we plan to be down about 70% in June, and that would be 70% of domestic, about 80% of international. I think when you compare it to the same period last year, I think one of the bright spots for us here in Charlotte is that we've been amongst the least impacted hubs. And, obviously one of the big reasons for that is, we're a low-cost operation through all the work that we've done with our partners at CLT. And, that makes flying here an attractive proposition for us. And it also gives us the ability to really give our customers more in an environment where we have less flights. We also have the option to provide a lot more connections for people that do want to fly during this time. So we've also reduced our expenditures in 2020 by more than $12 billion, including fuel. We've gone through a process of accelerating fleet retirements. We've announced our E190 fleet is retiring, our 757 fleet, our 767 and our A330-300s. And obviously that is a particular cost benefit for us, and also is reflected in passenger demand. We've suspended all of our non-essential hiring. We've paused non-contract pay increases, primarily, of course, for our leaders and managers. We've reduced executive pay and board pay. We've deferred marketing any expenditures that are non-essential. Marketing expenses, we've reduced contractors, training expenses pretty much everywhere we can. And then, So effective April 20th, we did close our training center for pilots here in Charlotte. However, we do plan on resuming training starting on Monday, May 11th. So, okay, if you would go to the next slide, please. Okay, so this is probably one of the more dramatic effects. It's certainly something when you see the videos that are available on YouTube, the many videos that are available on YouTube of flying into some of these stations, you can see the dramatic impact of the parking that we've had to do as an airline, and obviously other airlines as well have been doing the same thing. We have actually parked 470 aircraft. They are parked in various locations around the country. Just to give you a perspective, I think a 470 aircraft fleet prior to all of this would have been in the top 10 airlines of the world, probably like number 7. So as you can imagine, this is a huge impact. We have a large number of our aircraft in Tulsa. Tulsa is an ideal location for us to store our airplanes in that for those that are going to be out of service for a shorter period of time, it's close to our maintenance base. We have one of the largest maintenance facilities in the world that is run by our team. And so they're in close proximity there. And then we also have other aircraft parked in various areas around the country, particularly in places where we have maintenance, like Pittsburgh and Dallas. And we also have 20 aircraft parked in Charlotte. And the slide says 16. And I think it just goes to show, when we talk about how dynamic things are, there's a good example that since we put this presentation together, we've parked another 4 airplanes here in Charlotte. So when we look at the parking that we're doing, we have tried to park airplanes strategically, and we have parked aircraft in Charlotte and DFW. Those are very good locations for us to park them in our hubs. They do give us some additional benefits. It allows us to train on fleets that perhaps we haven't always had enough time to train on, because those may be infrequent fleets in our locations, and so we only have a limited number of folks that are trained on those fleets. So we've been using this as an opportunity to bring those aircraft into the stations and do some additional training. Good example would be for Charlotte. We've started training on the 777 and also the A321neo. That's obviously been great for us. It also, gives us aircraft in locations where if there are changes in demand, that we have availability for those airplanes. And then it also gives us the opportunity to do some of our maintenance. If we have pre-scheduled maintenance that we need to get done, this is a great place to do it. And then, of course, the other thing that it gives us is it gives us a pool of aircraft in the event that we have to pull an aircraft out of service. We can pull those aircraft back and put them back into as a replacement for an aircraft going out of service. Just to give you an idea, you look at something like this and it looks like a sort of a rental car parking lot. It's a very different proposition. Parking airplanes, we have to do routine maintenance on these aircraft. Aircraft like to fly, and as a result, they have to be kind of exercised to stay healthy. So when we put an aircraft in short-term storage, we have to do quite a bit of maintenance on it, and so that's one of our challenges, is actually keeping all these aircraft maintained. Okay, next slide, please. So, the challenge when you're in an environment like this, it really does take time to right-size your airline to deal with changes in the schedule, driven by capacity. Driven by demand that affects our capacity. When we look at this shows our plan versus actual schedule for May, and as you can see, we are down significantly. And even these cancellations don't take into account the things that we might do on the day of when we see a particular challenge that we need to address from a capacity perspective. And we've made further cuts as required, driven by our low customer demand. We are suspending more than 60% of our international capacity for the peak summer travel season versus the same period last year. And This is about an 80% reduction in Pacific capacity. It's about a 65% reduction in Atlantic, and about a 48% reduction in Latin American capacity. We are also delaying the launch of new routes and suspending 25 total summer seasonal flights until the summer of 2021. So just to give you an idea of our international service here in Charlotte, we do plan to launch Heathrow and Munich on July 7th. One of the changes that will be occurring will be that we get to welcome the 777 to Charlotte, which we have not seen on a routine basis. So the team's getting ready for that. They're excited to see a new airplane, so we will become much more a 777 station. And then we also will have our seasonal service to Rome, Barcelona, Dublin, and Paris. Again, this goes back to my caveat that was offered on things are changing rapidly. So this is as good as we have right now. And then, of course, there will be impact on Caribbean service driven by demand. So just an interesting tidbit from last week was that we actually ranked third largest North American airport by departure seats. We were actually larger than Atlanta, which just tells you how this industry has been affected. So I can see Haley smiling. So good news on that front, but what we really need to do is obviously we'd like to fill those seats, and so that's one of our challenges. Moving on to the next slide. So, obviously for us, the number one priority for us in any environment is the safety of our team members and the safety of our customers. And, that will always be the focus for us. It's the basis of our industry. And, we've done a lot to focus on this. So, I think it's fair to say that the customers that are traveling today are traveling because they need to. We don't have too many leisure travelers. This is a lot of folks that are going to see family members that, need help, or they're folks that are traveling for critical business needs. And I think, it really illustrates the fact that we are a critical infrastructure industry. So we've done quite a few things. We've been enhancing our aircraft cleaning procedures. We've made numerous changes, and we actually are continuing to evolve and increase the amount of cleaning that we're doing. We've been providing sanitizing wipes, and we will be requiring face masks starting on May 11th, which is Monday. That was a recent evolution. We are limiting customers on each flight. We don't assign 50% of our middle seats, and we have a process that starts several days ahead to give people options to move to flights that are less full. We've been extending waivers. We've been offering refunds, and we've really, I think, received positive feedback from our customers on the things that we've been doing. We have been making it easier for customers to earn elite status this year. Obviously, in an environment where a lot of folks are not traveling as much, we want to do what we can to do the right thing for them. We have extended elite status into early 2022. And then we've also extended our Admiral's Club memberships by 6 months as well. If we could jump to the next screen, please. Okay. Obviously, the other big piece of this is we've got to make sure we're taking great care of our team members. And this has been a new world, obviously, for everybody. We've continued to refine our approach based on the guidance from the CDC and other health officials. In addition to the aircraft cleanliness projects that we have underway, we have also added a lot of resources to clean our work areas more often. We not only clean them on a routine basis, but we're also cleaning them on demand. That is one of those things that we felt was very important, and we've addressed that. In addition, we've also implemented social distancing measures. Obviously, the voluntary leave program was a attractive option for some of our team members that had potential conditions where they felt uncomfortable being in an environment. like the airport. So they have opted to take that, and we've actually had nearly 39,000 team members across the country that have taken paid leave or early retirement programs. In addition to that, our team members are allowed to wear gloves now. We've provided hand sanitizer. I would say hand sanitizer has been an interesting logistical challenge for us. Our team in Tulsa has done a terrific job. I feel like we've now become connoisseurs of hand sanitizer. Each week we have a new flavor. So if you noticed, I was smelling my hands earlier. This week we have a Japanese sake kind of flavor. So it's really been an interesting world. We provided wipes for our frontline team members. As I said, on the social distancing, in addition to the voluntary leaves, we've also provided some additional picnic tables, other areas where folks can go. We've also encouraged our employees to go into other areas of the airport that aren't busy. And so I think if you walk around the airport, you will see more of our team members in those areas. I think we're going to have the fittest workforce that we've ever had, judging by the number of people that are walking right now. So, and then starting yesterday, we did implement temperature checks for our team members. We are checking temperatures of our team when they come into work. We will begin that for our flight crews in the near future. The bottom line for us, as well as our customers have told us that they really would be more comfortable flying if our team members are wearing face coverings. So in addition to asking our customers to wear them starting on May 11th, we have also asked, we've required our team members to wear face coverings starting this Friday, May 7th. Our flight attendants actually started this on May 1st. So, we will have all of our team members, particularly if they cannot maintain social distancing, that we will be wearing face masks, and certainly in customer areas. We also implemented a paid sick time program for those folks that have COVID-19 or for those folks that have been ordered into quarantine. One of the other things that we have been working corporately with is we have now a partnership with Novant. And we've launched priority COVID testing for team members through that partnership. So it's just another way in which we're taking care of our team. And then obviously, one of the things that the CARES Act provided was $5.8 billion in payroll support, which guaranteed employment for our team members through the end of September. So that's very, very positive news. Okay, moving on to our next slide. So one of the other things that we have been doing is really, helping with caring for the communities in which we live and serve. So we have been transporting. We've had a number of actually we normally carry cargo. We've actually launched several international flights that are all cargo flights where we've actually not had passengers on the airplane. We've transported 6.7 million pounds of weekly critical cargo, and you can imagine cargo these days is traveling as PPE, those other kinds of things. We've donated 100-plus tons of food to food banks in our hubs. As you can see in this photo here, our team members here in Charlotte, I think this is a time where it's difficult for everybody. We had a conversation with the Camino Community Center, just talking about the challenges that they are having with this sheer volume of people that need help. And so our team members really stepped up, and they were able to, we actually filled the box truck and donated food. We had great support from HMS Host, and so it was a very great event. Made us feel better and certainly helped them. So, and we also have team members that are donating their time on Fridays with Camino with doing food distribution. As a company, we've raised about $3 million for the Red Cross. We have donated thousands of supply kits and care packages to various organizations. And then, with UNICEF, we've allocated about $460,000 to support their relief work in Central and South America. And then one other thing that we did, which was really good, our team members caring rather for each other, we actually produced about 1,000 masks. We had a production line of team members with sewing machines and scissors, and they cut these masks out, and they did a fantastic job. And I actually still have mine, freshly cleaned, I should add. So these are what we were making, and they've been great in terms of helping our team in public. Certainly, have a face covering. So I think the next slide is yours, Mike.
Deck talked about the grant that American received as part of the CARES Act that was passed by Congress, and I'll start talking a little bit about that. My job entails really where the business of the airline and the business of the airport intersect, and so I'll be going into some matters about the airport's budget and how we contribute to that and what that looks like going forward. But I want to start just talking about the CARES Act, what it was, and also just what it wasn't. So the act included $25 billion for passenger carriers, $4 billion for cargo, and $3 billion for certain contractors, fees exclusively for wages, salaries, and benefits. The $3 billion, I do want to make this clear because I see Daryl Benton on, and I watched some of the host and parodies presentations. That $3 billion is not available for those concessionaires, and I know they cover that, but I just want to make clear that the $3 billion that's there is for a different series of airline contractors, ground handlers, caterers, and all of that. So, I think the way that was described at the prior meeting was exactly right. So, just to clear up any confusion that might be caused by that $3 billion figure there. The $25 billion was in grants, although it's not completely grants. We do have some obligation to repay a part of that. But the American Airlines piece of that was $5.8 billion. That money has to be used on payroll, and it comes with some restrictions, namely that we cannot involuntarily furlough any of our mainline or regional employees through the end of September of 2020. There's a requirement to maintain scheduled service to what we'll call our spokes. Obviously, our hubs would continue. You may have seen there's been some news about some carriers discontinuing service to Charlotte and some other big cities. Although this requirement was there, carriers could go to the Department of Transportation and seek exceptions. So some of that was done by airlines. But in general, you'll find that every airport that had service will continue to have service, I believe, even if it's not by every carrier or to every location, every destination that it had. So there's also limits that come with the money on companies buying back stock, and there's limits on using the money for executive compensation, some ceilings in place there. And on top of the $5.8 billion in the grant, we've also applied for $4.7 billion in government loans. We're working with the Treasury Department right now on that process. So that's not quite done. So the $5.8 billion was out of the bucket of $25 billion for the passenger carriers that were the grants, or partial grants, and then there's another $25 billion and possible loans. So that's where the 4.7 would come from. Next slide, please. So the money that comes to us from the grants, and it comes with the prohibition on furloughs. I want to talk a little bit about how that works and how that benefits American, how it benefits our team members, and how it even benefits the communities we serve, including Charlotte and the state of North Carolina. Because the money can only be used for payroll, or we can't use it to pay airplane ownership costs or usage costs or fuel. We can't use it for our airport rent or anything else. It's strictly there to support the payroll. And that was to avoid a situation in which airlines would have no choice due to low demand to furlough a lot of employees, which would obviously cause hardship to the furloughed employees. It also would have a furlough would make it difficult for us to recover as demand recovered. And that's because, when you furlough workers in a union environment, in a seniority system, what comes with that is certain rights of employees to displace other employees, and you end up kind of scrambling the egg of the airline and causing a lot of disruption as well to individuals who may, in order to stay actively employed, may need to go bump an employee in another city, and they may need to move. And then when you start back up, you reverse that process. And so that's really not good for anyone. We didn't want to go through that. We didn't want our team members to go through that. So that's how the industry came together and working with Congress and administration to come up with this program. Additionally, because the employees stay active and continue to get paid, there's a number of benefits to the broader economy. So you'll see on this slide that just looking at the North Carolina-based American Airlines employees, that meant that the additional $37 billion in federal income tax will continue to be paid. You see the numbers for state income tax, payroll tax, and then there was also an avoidance of a cost to the state and federal government for unemployment compensation. Again, because these employees are made active, continue to be paid, they're not filing for unemployment. The CARES Act included a federal component to add on to the unemployment compensation. So you see that that's money that doesn't come out of the treasuries of the federal or state government. In addition, of course, because people are getting paid, that just creates additional disposable income. So we are, you saw what Deck presented in terms of the TSA throughput system-wide, the number of flights we've reduced overall. So we haven't reduced employees. So we have far more employees than we have work for those employees. But what the CARES Act does, at least through the end of September, is allows them to stay active and keep getting paid. And so that, has all those benefits for all the various groups there. So, it really, it was a way of trying to keep workers, businesses, and the economy overall from really going under during a time when demand did go up. Next slide, please. Okay, so now to drill down a little bit more into the airport itself, and the CLT, and how airports work. And in general, airports are self-sustaining enterprises with a cost paid by the users of the facilities. So, whatever it takes to run an airport, that comes from federal grants, which come out of the ticket price, passenger facility charges, which come out of the ticket price, and tenant rents and fees and other revenues generated at the airport by the airport. But it's all a self-contained economic system that doesn't require any state or local taxes to support the cost of the airport. This third bullet here, this is probably the simplest way of understanding airport finance, which is you take the total cost of running an airport, its operations and maintenance costs, and the debt service on its bonds, all the things that it takes to run an airport in a year. And then, so those on the cost side. On the revenue side, you have all the amount generated by all these various sources other than airline rent. So we'll set that aside for a second. Concessions, parking, rental cars, all the other businesses in the airport. The difference between the cost of running the airport and the amount that comes in from all those other sources, that's the amount the airlines pay. Why don't we go on to the next slide? We'll go through this a little bit more with the numbers. so this is a slide that, but for that arrow and the words at the bottom, we cribbed from what Brent Cagle presented earlier to this group. The table there is the same. So if you look at fiscal year 19 actual, that number at the bottom, 232 million. So that's how much it costs to run the airport in its 2019 fiscal year. The non-airline revenues, terminal concessions, parking, all those other things, amounted to 154. And that meant that the airline share, the rates and charges and landing fees, was 78. Then if you look over what the airport had budgeted for 2020, you'll see the non-airline revenues were almost exactly the same. So about the same amount of money was being generated from all those other sources, but the cost to run the airport went up from 232 to 245 million, which is that increase is something the American was completely comfortable with. So I want to make it sound like there's a controversy about that. We were aware of the budget and fully agreed with that amount. So you'll see then that the airline revenues, the amount needed from the airline, were budgeted to go up about $12 million. So that's really a good illustration of how this works at an airport. The airport does its best to keep its costs low and to generate those non-airline revenues, primarily in Charlotte due to the efforts of Haley Gentry, and then the airlines pay what is left. So additionally, like if you think about taking on new projects, as that total included revenues, which again we look at as a cost to run the airport, as that number goes up and the non-airline revenues don't go up, the amount that the airlines have to pay increases. So now, and again, Brent went through this, but the pandemic affected part of fiscal year 20, so you'll see a big drop-off in non-airline revenues. If you compare to fiscal year 19 actual, you'll see that drop off by 34 million, but the airline requirement actually went up. So even though it costs less to run the airport, because the non-airline revenues were lower, we end up having to pay more. That's just the way it works. And in good years, there's we're rewarded when these things, when things are good, but in bad years, there's a big risk to us, and you see that risk coming out. So as you start to move forward into fiscal year 21, once again, you'll see that with a lot fewer flights, a lot fewer passengers, the amount that the airlines have to pay to the airport will stay about the same, even though you can also see that the airport is doing a really nice job on the current budget there of reducing the cost of running the airport in a year. So that's dropped, even from the 2019 actual, dropped $32 million. So, what everybody is pulling together and trying to do, the airport's trying to reduce the amount needed to run the airport and try to keep the airline contribution flat, which is good on an absolute basis and through absolutely nobody's fault at all on a unit basis. If you think about it, we measure it on a per passenger basis. So if we're paying the same amount, but our passengers are down 30, 40, 50, 60%, whatever they happen to be at any point in time during this, then our cost per passenger goes way, way up. And as Dick mentioned, one of the things that has made Charlotte successful is how well it's managed, which means its costs have been managed well. Now, this increase in our per passenger cost is really a function of the pandemic. It's not a function of airport management or airline management or anything else. It is simply an amount of money divided by the number of passengers, and when you have fewer passengers, that cost goes up. And that is a phenomenon that airlines will see all over the country. So this is not that bad effect on our cost per passenger is not at all unique to Charlotte. What Charlotte is doing very well and very responsibly is at least trying to keep the total amount that we pay level. And you can see in the fiscal 21 budget, they've done a really nice job of that. And look, as we go forward, I know that Brent and his team have created some scenarios that better or worse. We think that's the right approach, a reasonable approach. We think the projections are reasonable. When it comes to projections on this, let's face it, everybody is guessing. Nobody knows how demand will return, how quickly, in what way. We may have, in order to help spur demand, airlines could charge less for their tickets, which means the number of people passing through TSA checkpoints will go up, but the amount of revenue that we earn will go up by less, a smaller percentage. So, all those things are dynamic. They depend on the macro economy. They depend on the behavior of individuals and how comfortable they feel flying. And that's why a lot of the things that Dec talked about that we're doing are so important, because we know that that's really the number one factor right now for passengers. So the other thing I want to talk about a bit with the concessionaires, and again, I mentioned Daryl Benton. Host is a great partner of American. They provide service to us in our Admirals clubs, and I watched the presentation they made, and I'd say, let's overall agree with where they're coming from and understand their situation. The airport concessionaire industry is vitally important to the airline industry. And, we know that they need to survive, they need to thrive and come through this just like we have. It's just a matter of airport finance that for every dollar they don't give, we have to give one. And during ordinary times, there's some push and pull that goes on between the airlines and the concessionaires about that dynamic. We're the ones who take the risk in that relationship. But obviously here, given the depth of the economic harm that everyone is suffering, we know that steps have to be taken to address the plight of the concessionaires as well. And so we would support reasonable steps being taken. We want the group to keep in mind that every dollar of support that goes to them does get paid out by us in the end. Next slide, please. So, looking forward, Dec talked about adapting. I think, when we think about how demand comes back and how we can be ready for it, because it is so unpredictable, the most we can do is make our best projections and be able to adjust those up or down. Dec talked about pulling aircraft out of parking spots as we need them. And it's that sort of thing that we've done. So that's what we're talking to the airport about. I think if we get into situations that are worse than what we're modeling, kind of the CLT's worst case scenario, I hope it's actually worst case, that all parties are ready for that financially as best we can. However, if demand recovers more quickly, we want to be able to react to that so we don't have unmet demand out there and we can all get our finances back in order as quickly as possible. So that flexibility and adaptability are really, those are the key watchwords here as we go forward. We do continue to have confidence in Brent and his team and really in the entire city of Charlotte, Mayor Lyles and City Manager Marcus. We know that CLT and the city will do the right thing. We've seen the way that the city has reacted to this crisis so far, and we're really, really pleased with it. And I just can't even tell you how much we appreciate the partnership we have with Brent and his team and with the rest of the city as we all pull together and try to get through this. We will be ready to welcome whatever RNC-related traffic comes in late August. That's top of mind for Dec and thinking about a lot of passengers coming through at one time there. We do think that the pandemic will bring about some long-term changes to air travel. We don't even know exactly what those are, and so a lot of the measures that Tech talked about, we're putting in place now. Some things may stay around, other things may be temporary, but that's what we're focusing on as we run the airline day to day right now is putting measures into place. They change rapidly. Tech also touched on that. We have measures that we put in place now. I can't tell you that tomorrow we won't come out with something different or next week. Generally, everything has been more. As we've gone through this, I can just tell you in a lot of the internal calls, a topic will come up about something that we might do or a state or local government might do, and the first reaction to that is, well, that would never happen. And 2 days later, we're implementing it. So we've learned to adjust at that pace. Nobody bats an eye anymore at big new ideas. We're going to do what needs to be done to instill public confidence in flying and meet those challenges. We do think we will be a stronger, more efficient company because of this experience. This has been a real, and will continue to be a real test for us, but those challenges make you sharper, make you better, and that's how we expect to come out of this. With that, I believe we have finished our presentation, and Chairman Driggs, Councilmember Driggs, will turn it back to you.
Mike, thank you so much, and Jack, and greetings also to any other American team members who may be on the call. In view of the time, I'd like to suggest that we take maybe one or two questions, and what I'd like to do is next week get all the parties involved in a conversation. So build on what we've heard. And Mike, I wanted to tell you I particularly appreciated your explanation of the airport economics, because one of the reasons we've had to have all these presentations is the sort of arcane nature of business relationships at the airport. It is a zero-sum game. I would mention also no airport funds can be used for purposes other than airport needs. That was a subject that was live in Charlotte a few years ago. But I'm looking now. I see one hand, two hands up. So, Aaron, why don't you ask your question?
Today, I'm an aviation lawyer originally from New York, moved to Charlotte last fall. My question is, what are you doing with regard to your plans for development and construction at the airport? Is that too early to say, or are you just continuing the projects that are in place now? Any forward-looking plans?
Oh, that's a really good question. So we are, some projects will continue, others may be delayed for a period of time. We're starting those conversations both internally and with Brett and his team. We do face this short term, which makes the medium term demand drop and liquidity crisis and all of that, which makes it difficult over the next couple of years to spend what we had projected. But in the long term, we still have the same grand plans for Charlotte that we've always had. It is a crucial part of the American Airlines network, and it needs to grow and improve. So I don't think you'll see any, if you've seen the prior plans, I don't think you'll see any big red X's over everything. But we do need to move prudently on the timelines. In some cases, there may be, this may create some opportunities as well to do projects in a different way. One of the reasons that projects at airports tend to be more costly and take longer than projects in other environments, lights just turned off on me here, is that you have to build while you're running an operation in the same place. So if you look at the work the airport's done on concourses, what's finished on B and what's being done on C, with the ceilings being open, and that was if this was not an airport, you would just shut it down and you would do it, and it would be done a lot more quickly. But we needed the concourses during the day to run the flight, so the airport had to do the work overnight, and that made it all take longer and frankly be more expensive because you're on an overnight shift. So we're also looking for opportunities to accelerate some projects or phase them differently because there's less demand at the airport, fewer flights, fewer passengers, and so those are things that we may, actually save some money to do the same project. For some projects, bonds have already been sold. The money's sitting in the bank. There is no benefit to delaying those projects. But for others that entail higher costs, those are the ones we're looking at. But again, I view this really as an issue of timing.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.
I'll just add on as well, Mike, if I can. A good example of that, we have some projects, the trench drain replacements are a good example of some work that needed to be done on the ramp. Because we're not running peaks as high as we normally would, that gives us the ability to close some gates and do some repairs that would have otherwise been very difficult. So I would say, Jack, Christine, and the team at the airport have done a great job of working with us to figure out, okay, what are the things that we can optimally do that will give us a long-term benefit. It would have been much, much more, difficult to do it when we were running peak banks, and we would have, potentially had to cancel flights. So some of these things it's a great thing to do these.
I have one more question from Seth Bennett.
Good morning, Tracy, Deck, and Mike. Thank you for your time. Seth Bennett from the Spectrum Center in Charlotte Hornets. Deck, I think you might have mentioned in your comments that you implemented face coverings as a direct reply to feedback from customers. I was curious in how that feedback was gathered. Was that a direct survey, and were there any other findings that you think in general the airport community would benefit from in terms of what would make customers feel secure about coming back to our airport? Thank you.
Yeah, we do regularly survey our customers, and our team, takes a look at those, and that has been the basis for, many of the things that we've been doing. Obviously, the most important thing for us as an industry, including the airports and airlines, is to create customer confidence. And so we're going through a lot of that feedback, and that's really driving, I think, for all the airlines, a lot of what we're doing. The reason we're cleaning airplanes, a lot more than we had in the past. It's driving face coverings. And what I would say is, we work closely with the airport team, and as we identify these things, we work together to implement them. So we're always happy to share whatever information we have, and then know they share with us. So, as a team, we'll figure this out.
Okay. As I mentioned before, I think what we'll do now in respect of time is wrap up, and I apologize again for our late start. We're going to try and create a memo that summarizes a lot of what we've heard during these first three meetings and circulate that to the members of the working group. I think for next week, what we should plan to do is have a really interactive session where we start talking about what exactly it is that we're meant to be doing and how we think we can go about that. So I don't know that we'll have anybody featured as a speaker. I hope representatives from American will be able to join us next week and from the concessionaires. And with that, unless anybody else has a comment, I think we're ready to wrap up.
Well, I just want to thank you and the whole group for the work that you're doing and for inviting us. We love the opportunity to come address people in the city, usually under different circumstances, but it's important work, and we appreciate you doing it.
This is valuable for us as well. Thank you, Mike. All right, everybody, we are adjourned. Talk to you next week.
Take care.